so there are no surprises. I've changed the format of the integrity sheets a little bit. So when you show up to class on Monday, you will not be allowed to go home and listen to any more videos and do any more homework. Well, you can still do that, but you will not get credit for them. So when you walk in the door on Monday, you will have a sheet of paper, and if you don't, then I'm going to have you get one out and just write everything down. You're not going to tell me orally. Okay, you're going to have a sheet of paper that you hand to me Monday that has down all of the assignments that you have completed, so I know which ones to give you credit for and which ones to not give you credit for. Also, if you want 5 bonus points, you must, I'm going to ask you, have you tried every problem on the review sheet? And if you have tried every problem on the review sheet, then I will give you 5 bonus points. If you've not tried every problem, then you will not get the 5 bonus points, okay? You're welcome to come to class on Monday with 100 questions. That is totally fine, and I will still give you the 5 bonus points as long as you have attempted every problem on the review sheet and you know which ones you got right and which ones you got wrong, and you have all of those marked and you're ready to ask questions. I have no problem with giving you the bonus points. I am getting tougher on you guys, but it's because I care about y'all and I love y'all enough to make you do what you need to do when it comes to your responsibility as students in the class, okay? So I hope that you handle that with a good attitude. Okay, let's continue on. Grab your notebooks, grab your pencils, grab your books, grab your calculators. I always try to go fast. I always try to keep class as short as possible and allow you as much time as possible to work on your homework. So let's go ahead and get started. You do not need to write this down. I will tell you when you need to write something down. We have done a lot of studying here lately on solving triangles, okay? And we know that. We've done a lot of studying on that. But there is an important statement that I want to give you, and I want you to copy this in your notes, students. Copy this down. Any triangle can be solved as long as you know the length of one side and any other 2 parts. That's a really important statement. Please write that in your notes. Any triangle can be solved as long as you know the length of one side, so you have to know at least one side, and any other 2 parts. If you have that information, then you can solve the rest of the triangle. Sometimes you cannot use the law of sines. I would not write this sentence down. It's not necessary. When this happens, when you cannot use the law of sines, then what do? Well, you use the law of cosines. You use the law of cosines. Now, here is the law of cosines. And by the way, in these notes, I actually forgot to give you your headings. Let's go ahead and pause now. And I would write for your heading, Law of Cosines. And I apologize for forgetting to type this in your notes. Lesson 7.2. And the date today is the 5th, 11/5/13. So somewhere put that in your notes, okay? All right, here is the law of cosines. Here is the law of cosines. A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine A. Now it's really, really easy to memorize. Watch this. Do you see if you have side A here, then you have angle A here? That's really easy. So look at it again. If you have side A here being squared, then you have angle A over here, taking the cosine of it. By the way, what side did you have here? A. So if you have A here, then you have b squared here plus c squared here minus, and then it's 2bc. So it's b squared, c squared minus 2bc. So in other words, whatever side you have here, in this case it was side A, then over here you have BC, BC. And whatever side you have here, A, you have the angle opposite that side over here. So with that in mind, what I just said, there's 2 other forms of this formula. So let's write down the next form. Isn't that common sense? If you have side B here, then you have cosine of B right here, angle B. And then if you have side B here, notice you have AC, AC. So A squared plus C squared minus 2AC. Do you see that now we have c squared equals. So if we have a c here, a little side c, then notice we have angle c over here. And notice we have, if we have side c, then it goes a, b, b. So a squared plus b squared minus 2ab. So that's pretty easy. Basically what they're just saying is this. If you wanted to use the law of cosines, whatever side you put here, then the angle of that side goes over here, and then the other sides are the sides not including a, or this side here. So if it's a, it's b, c, b, c. So it's actually pretty easy to memorize, and these three formulas are all called the law of cosines. Okay? Law of cosine. Alright, let's continue on. Let's practice using the law of cosines on a couple of problems. Okay? Why not? So here we go. Please copy this problem in your notes. I have triangle ABC. Notice I have side A, side C, and angle B given to me. I want you to solve the triangle. So take some really good notes, and of course I'll probably go pretty fast. Just pause if you need to. I always like to get a picture first of all of what I'm looking at, and I don't care if my triangle is drawn to scale. So I'm going to go ahead and put, there's my triangle. I'm going to put an A, a B, and a C. Now side A is across from angle A, so I'm going to put a 32 right here. Side C is across from angle C, so I'm going to put a side of 48. And then angle B is 125.2 degrees. Now, students, the reason we cannot use the law of sines, and I wish we could, but the reason we cannot use the law of sines is we don't have a pair. Like I know this side here, but I don't know the angle across from it. I know this angle here, but I don't know the length of the side across from it. I know this side here, but I don't know the length or the measurement of the angle across from it. And so I cannot use the law of sines. So if I can't use the law of sines, let's go ahead and use the law of cosines. Now we've got to decide what we're going to solve for here. Okay? And it looks like to me, I know side what? C. And I know side what? A. Now think about that, guys. If I know side A and if I know side C, okay, look back at your formulas. If I know side A and if I know side C right here, and also notice this, the only angle that I know is angle B. Do you see that? The only angle I know is angle B, right? So if that's the only angle that I know, then obviously I'm going to use this formula right here with cosine of B, because B is the only angle that I have, all right? So with that in mind, let's go back over here to the problem, and let's see if we can't figure this out. Let's write our formula. We know we have this angle here, so we know we're going to have cosine of B. Now remember what I taught you. Put your equal sign over here. Whatever angle you have here, you put that side across from it here. And then if you have a B here, it would go A, C, and then minus 2AC. So there you go. Let's start making some substitutions, okay? This isn't too hard, students. It's really, really not, okay? If you make a substitution for B, notice we do not know the length of B, so we leave that B squared. For A, I'm going to put 32 squared. For C, I'm going to put 48 squared, and then minus 2, and then for A, I'm going to put 32, and for C, I'm going to put 48, and then for cosine, I'll put cosine of 125.2. Now, I want to encourage you to be really, really careful as you type this entire thing into your calculator. And by the way, you can type this entire thing into your calculator. There's no problem with doing that. But check right now and make sure you know how to type this in, because don't just write down 5098.8 and assume that you know how to type this in. If I were you, I would pause the video and type this into your calculator. 32 squared plus 48 squared minus 2 parentheses 32 parentheses 48 parentheses cosine 125.2, enter, and you should get this here. If you're not, check your work and make sure you're typing it in correctly. But if you type all this in correctly, you will taking a chance of getting out a wrong angle. So I would not use law of sines. If you start off using the law of cosines, go ahead and finish using the law of cosines. Now, we have to solve for angle A and or C. Now, I don't care which one we do. I'm going to solve for angle A. So if I'm going to solve for angle A, look what I put. I put cosine of what? A. That's the angle I'm solving for. So what did I teach you? If you have angle A here, then you have side A over here. If you have side A here, then it goes B, C, then minus 2, and then B, C. So let's make some substitutions. For A, I'm going to put 32. For B, I'm going to put 71. For C, I'm going to put 48. And then minus 2 parentheses. B is 71. C is 48. And then cosine of A. Now, here's where you really need to tread on thin ice and be really careful here, okay? Because a lot of students make mistakes here with their calculators. Let me show you here what I mean. We know we're solving for the cosine of A. So what I want to encourage you to do, instead of typing this whole thing into your calculator, please watch what I would do. I would write 1024 here, and then I would write 71 squared is 5041, so I would write 5041 plus 48 squared. I would write 2304. Now watch what I do next. Please watch what I do next. Notice you have not a 2, but a negative 2. You have a negative 2 times 71 times 48. So I would type into my calculator negative 2 times 71 times 48. And here's why I would do that, which, by the way, gives you negative 6,816, and then cosine A. Now, here's why I've done that. Would you watch what I want you to do now? Now, I would bring this number over and make it a negative number. I would bring this number over and make it a negative number. So now you're left with this. 1024 minus 5041 minus 2304, and you're left with this right here. If you do it correctly, you're left with negative 6,321 equals negative 6,816 cosine A. And now, students, divide both sides by negative 6,816. And that's why we've done that. And you're going to get out a really long decimal. Now, a negative divided by a negative is positive. We're going to come up with 0.9274. I've rounded that. Equals the cosine of A. Now, you're looking for an angle, are you not, guys? You're looking for cosine of A. So you know to use the second cosine button on your calculator. So type into your calculator second cosine and then 0.9274. Enter. And you'll get 21.9 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and say 22 degrees. And now that you've written 22 degrees right here, there's no need to use law of cosines or sines to find angle C. Just add these two together. 22 plus 125, 22 plus 125.2, and then subtract that from 180, and you will get, for this angle here, 32.8, because you know all three angles have to add up to 180. So there we go. We used the law of cosines. Okay? Not too bad. We're going to practice in your homework. Contain your excitement. Now, let's look at one more. Okay? Let's look at one more, and then I want to give you some steps to write down, then one more problem after that, and we're finally finished. Okay? I'm going to try to go really fast. Okay, notice we have triangle RST. So here's R, S, and T. Now, we know that side R is 3.5. We know that side S is 4.7. And we know that side C is 2.8. Solve the triangle. Well, we cannot use law of sines because we don't have a pair. So we're going to have to use the law of cosines. Now, to be honest with you, students, I really don't care which angle you solve for first. I'm just going to solve for angle S first because I feel like it. No certain reason. So if I'm going to solve for angle S, then I'm going to say cosine of S. Now, come on, think about it. If I put cosine of S, S. What side is opposite angle S? Little s is. Remember, whatever angle you put here, you put the opposite side here. Now, if I put S here, then it's got to go R. That's wrong. Sorry about that. Should be little r. Side R. So, if I have an S here, then it should be R T minus 2RT. Okay, there we go. So for side S, should be S squared, by the way. That'll be 4.7 squared equals 3.5 squared plus 2.8 squared minus 2. R would be 3.5 and T would be 2.8 cosine of S. Now, let's go ahead and grab our calculators real quick, and let's type these numbers in. 4.7 squared would be 22.09. So 22.09 equals, all right, 3.5 squared would be 12.25 plus 2.8 squared would be 7.84. 7.84. Okay? Now, we multiply negative 2 times 3.5 times 2.8. So negative 2 times 3.5 times 2.8 would give us negative 19.6. And then cosine of S. Cosine of S. Okay? Let me go back a page real quick and check something. Okay, very good. All right, now, look, guys, if I bring 12.25 over and make it negative, and then bring 7.84 over and make it negative, I would end up with this, 22.09 minus 12.25 minus 7.84 equals 2. Exactly 2. So 2 equals negative 19.6 cosine S. And now we divide both sides by 19.6. So 2 divided by 19.6 gives you a really long decimal. I'm going to round it to 0.10204 equals cosine of S. Now you're looking for an angle. You're looking for angle S. So be sure and use second cosine of that angle, of that number. So second cosine 0.10204. And if you type that in correctly, you should get out 80. Actually, I made a mistake, and I apologize. So would you please learn from my mistake? It's a positive 2 divided by a negative 19.6. That's real important. It's negative. So go ahead and hit second cosine, okay? Second cosine, and then it would be negative 0.10204. So hit second cosine, then negative 0.10204. Does that make a difference, Mr. Hart? Yeah, it really does. It makes a big difference. So now hit enter, and you'll get 95.8, or in other words, 96 degrees. So S equals 96 degrees. So it'll come right up here, and I'm going to put 96 degrees, okay? Now, I'm going to use law of cosines again to find another angle, and it really doesn't matter which angle you solve for next. I'm going to solve for R just because I feel like it. So cosine of R. Now look, if I put cosine of R, I come over here and I have little r squared. If I've got R right here, then I must have S T S T. Okay? So where the little r is, I'm going to substitute 3.5 squared. Where the S is, I'm going to substitute 4.7 squared. Where the T is, I'm going to substitute 2.8 squared. And then minus 2 times 4.7 times 2.8 cosine of R. So here we go, guys. Let's get to work. Are you ready? 3.5 squared would be 12.25. 4.7 squared would be 22.09. 2.8 squared would be 7.84. And then multiply these three numbers together right here. So negative 2 times times 2.8 would give you negative 26.32 cosine of r. Now, bring this number over, make it negative. Bring this number over, make it negative, and you're going to have 12.25 minus 22.09 minus 7.84 equals, and you're going to have this. You're going to have negative 17.68 equals negative 26.32 cosine of r. Now divide both sides by 26.32. Don't forget that a negative divided by a negative is positive, and you should get something like 0.671732528, okay? And that equals cosine r. So look, you're looking for an angle, angle r. So whenever you're looking for an angle, you use the second button or the inverse button. So we're going to say second cosine, and then type in 0.6717 and hit enter. And for angle r, you should get 47.8. So I'm going to go ahead and say 48 degrees. 48 degrees, okay? So angle r is 48 degrees, and I found angle t, didn't I already? No, I've got to find that now. So angle r is 48 degrees. Now we know how quickly we can find this last angle. We simply say take 96 degrees, which is one angle, plus 48 degrees, which is the other angle. Subtract that from 180, and we see this is 36 degrees, okay? 36 degrees. So there we go. Is going to take a pretty long time, so I'm going to give that to you tomorrow. Today you're just getting notes, okay? And I should have told you that at the start of the period, okay? I am just giving you notes today, and then tomorrow you're going to have homework on this. And I do that whenever the assignment, whenever the math takes a really long time. Now we're almost done here. A couple more things, okay? Now, what if I started throwing any oblique triangle at you and telling you solve this? What would you do? Well, I would like to give you a step-by-step plan that will help you solve any oblique triangle, okay? Please write down these steps. They are very helpful. I'll probably go too fast, and you'll probably have to pause the video, but write down these steps. All right, here we go. Step 1, make sure that you know the measurement of at least one side and two other parts. Think about that. Let me go back to the very beginning of your notes today. Please look at this. What did I say right here? Right here. There's the important statement that I want to give you. Any triangle can be solved as long as you know one side and any two other parts. So please make sure that you have that. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you know the measurement of at least one side and two other parts. If you don't, then you cannot solve the triangle. Now, I did not say that you can only know one side. I said at least one side and two other parts. Okay? All right, step 2. If you know two angles, quickly and easily find the third angle by adding the two angles together and subtracting from 180. That's pretty much common sense. If you know two angles, very quickly find the third angle. The next thing you would do is use the law of sines if you are able. That's the first thing you always want to use. Please trust me. You always want to use the law of sines if at all possible. If you're not able to, then you use the law of cosines. Remember, now listen to this very carefully. If you decide to use the law of sines and the triangle that you've been given is a side-side angle triangle, in other words, the parts that you know are side-side angle, please don't forget what we studied the other day. There's always the possibility of no solution, or one solution, or two solutions. So don't forget that. If your original problem has side-side angle for its known parts, there's always the possibility of no solution, one solution, or two solutions. Okay, but back to step 3 here. Use the law of sines first if you're able to. If not, then use the law of cosines. Now, the last step here. After you have done the first 3 steps and you are continuing to solve the triangle, I would suggest suggest using the law of cosines to solve the rest of the triangle. I really would. Please trust me, it will help eliminate mistakes when it comes to finding missing angles. So after you've done the first 3 steps, I will use the law of cosines to help you solve the rest of the triangle. There's a reason for that, and I believe that'll be really, really helpful to you. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and get started. Let me throw a random oblique triangle at you, and let's use these 4 steps, and let's see how you do. And guess what? This is the last problem that we're going to have in your notes today. Okay? Last problem. And then I will give your homework to you, but you don't have to do it. It's not due. We're going to work on it tomorrow in class for your lesson. So I will give it to you if you want to get a head start, but you don't have to work on it if you want to. Okay, copy this down. In triangle ABC, angle B equals 110, angle C equals 8 degrees, and side C equals 0.912. Now, even though I didn't write this down for one of your steps, I think you know by now we always like to very quickly get a picture of the triangle that we're dealing with. We don't care if it's drawn to scale, that's not a big deal. So A, B, C. Now, angle B is 110 degrees. Angle C is 8 degrees. And side C is 0.912. Now let's go through the 4 steps carefully. You should have them written down in front of you, so I'm not going to go back to the slides and show those steps. But step 1, I'll read it to you as you can look at your notes. Step 1 says make sure you know at least one side and 2 other parts. Well, I do know one side here, and I know 2 other parts, so we're good. I can definitely solve this triangle. Step 2 says if you know 2 angles, quickly find the 3rd angle. So let's do that real quick. We know 2 angles. Add 110 plus 8 and you get 118. Subtract that from 180 and you do get 62 degrees. So there. We did step number 2. If you know 2 angles, quickly find the 3rd missing angle. And that's pretty easy to do. Now moving on to step number 3. Step number 3 says use the law of sines if at all possible. Now, how do you know, Mr. Earhart, if you can use the law of sines? If you have a pair. In other words, if you have an angle and you know the opposite side of that angle, then you have a pair that we can use for the law of sines. And yes, we do have a pair right there. So we can use the law of sines to go ahead and solve for part of the triangle. So here we go. Law of sines would say 0.912 over sine of 8 degrees equals, okay, let's go ahead and find side A first. So we're going to say side A over sine of 62 degrees. Now why 62 degrees? Because if we're trying to find side A, the angle across from it is 62 degrees. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to cross multiply and solve. So, A would equal 0.912 sine of 62 degrees all over the sine of 8. Now very quickly I'm going to grab my calculator and type that in, and I'm getting 0.912 times sine of 62 equals, and then divided by the sine of 8. And I'm getting 5.785, or 5.79 would be acceptable. So A equals 5.79. Okay, so there we go. Now if you'll look at your steps, step 3 said use the law of sine if possible. If not, use the law of cosines. And then it says this in step 4. I strongly suggest you use the law of cosines to solve the rest of the triangle after you've done steps 1, 2, and 3. And the reason for that is the law of cosines will eliminate little mistakes when it comes to your angles. So I would strongly encourage you to use the law of cosines as you solve for the last part. And it looks like here's angle B, so I'm looking for side B right here. Now, if I'm looking for side B, then I'm going to put a B squared here. And if I put a B squared here, that means I go way over here, and I put the cosine of what angle? Do you remember? B. If it's B here, it's B over here. If it's B here, then it would be A squared, it would be AC, and then minus 2 watch carefully. B squared equals, now for A it's 0.912 squared. I apologize, that's incorrect. For A it would be 5.79, so 5.79 squared, plus C would be 0.912 squared, and then minus 2. A would be 5.79, C would be 0.912, and then cosine of B. Of course, B is 110 degrees. Now remember what I've told you. You can type this entire thing into your calculator. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. I've not done that yet, so I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to type in 5.79 squared plus 0.912 squared minus 2, and then parentheses, 5.79, and then inside another parentheses, 0.912, and then cosine of 110. And to be honest with you, that's great. If you did all that correctly, sorry about my voice there, you should get 37.967900505. So 37.967900505. And that's good enough right there. Now we're going to take the square root of B squared, that's B, but we're also going to take the square root of the left side, and if I do that correctly, I should get 6.16, okay? And that's for B right here. So 6.16. Alright, there we go. Okay, so we solved the triangle. So let's go back a couple pages. We use these steps. We first of all made sure that we knew at least one side and two other parts. We then said, okay, if I know two angles, I can find the third angle very quickly. And then I said, okay, let's use the law of sines if I'm able to, but if not, I'll use the law of cosines, and I was able to use the law of sines, so I did that. After I did that, then I went on to step 4, and it says to continue solving the rest of the triangle, use the law of cosines. That's going to help you not make mistakes on finding the measurement of your angle, so I would encourage you to do that. Now, let me go ahead and give you the homework assignment that you're to work on tomorrow. So let me click forward a couple pages here very quickly. And here we go. Page 618, numbers 1 through 23. I know they're going to take you a while, and that's why I feel like if I give this to you today, it's going to be a ton of homework, and I want to make sure that you're really, really getting this and not just rushing through it. So you're welcome to work on this, but you don't have to. This is what we're going to do tomorrow for our whole math session tomorrow, is work on these problems here, okay? I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Call or email me if you have any questions at all. I'm here to help you. And your quizzes, by the way, were due today, so I'm still waiting to hear from some of you